So, to start my terrible Tyranid collection, I thought I would start with a weird one. Pikmin isn't really a game that I've played. However, it's the first thing that kind of came to mind when I was discussing it with friends. The idea of making these grim dark Tyranids into bright, vibrant, primary color little guys was kind of a funny one, and I want to see that through. After priming, the first step is going to be just to coat the three in the primary colors, red, yellow and blue respectively. I'm going with these ones because they're the standard ones. I think they're going to look the best, and I don't want to make the whole crew. I'm not going to make every Pikmin. Because these are based off of cartoon kind of super vibrant characters, there's not too much that I want to do with them because I want them to look super bright and vibrant, but I can add more detail by adding a wash to them. Now I'm going to make a custom wash for all of these. For the red guy, I'm going to do a bit of royal blood and familiar pink. This should just help give it a little bit of opaque and keep it kind of like super saturated. The main goal of this is just to make the recesses look a little bit more shadowy than they already are. So making it bright red is gonna help make it look a little bit more cartoony, I'm hoping. For the blue, I'm gonna be using Highland Blue, just thinned down a little bit. This on top of the already like bright primary blue should just give it a little bit of extra detail without kind of changing the color tone that much at all. The yellow's wash ended up looking a little bit Cheeto colored. This is a mixture of Zero Lot Yellow and Citrine Yellow. Zero Lot Yellow is already like quite orangey, but when applied over white it looks quite yellow because it's like really thinned down over the top of white. But over the top of yellow it's going to look a lot warmer, it's going to look a lot more vibrant, so I tried to kind of temper that with some of this the candy ink. It still ended up looking quite orange, but that's fine. To prevent the dry brush from being too impactful, I'm gonna mix it with some of the base color of each of the models. This should prevent it from looking super obvious because it's kind of blending in with the colors underneath it. This should give kind of like an essence of highlight without going too far as to like make it look super obvious. And now I'm going to start working on kind of like the plant matter of it. I've got this super bright vibrant green that will kind of like make look more plant-like as we do more steps to kind of improve it, but for now it's just like one layer of bright vibrant green. I then need to add a wash to this, so I'm going to be using a mixture of this jade as well as this prismatic bolt to make a bluey dark green for the recesses. Now my plan is to slowly make the highlights of this into more yellowy green, and that's a great way of making kind of like plant life, is to have like a full diverse kind of color palette of one particular color. So it's going to be going from kind of blue green all the way into yellow green, which should make it look a lot more like plant matter. So this is my way of kind of visualizing the glazing process, because it's almost impossible to record. Basically you start with the base color, you start with the shading, and then you have a very thin color that you want to be the highlights, and it's like a great way of blending highlights in with the base colors is to just use very thin coats. This takes a while, but it has results that you can't really argue with. Here's my kind of like graph of what you come to expect. Like the difference between each individual layer is completely like unseeable, but the difference between 1 and 5 coats is a very clear difference. But as you're making something, you don't see that, you only see from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, which makes glazing like a really weird process, where you feel like you're not necessarily going in a direction. But I'm super happy with how it looked on that kind of like visualizer. I'm super happy with how these ended up looking on these guys, and I think we're just gonna kind of like skip ahead to the final what they look like. Now there's one key step left to do on these guys, and that's paint their weapons. Now I'm going to theme them kind of around flowers, so I've got this like pale yellow color that I'm going to be using as a base coat, and then I'm going to glaze again around kind of where they connect to the Pikmin with that bright green, the same green that I've used for the tops. And then I'll be adding a kind of pinky purple to the kind of the ends of the weapons and things like that, because that should look quite nice. It'll make it look kind of like it's supposed to be a pinky whitey kind of flower, which is quite a nice looking flower. Now my final step for these Tyranids is to paint the bases black. Now I'm going to do this with every single of the Terrible Tyranid collection, just to highlight kind of the main point of these, which is not the bases. They're going to be kind of like a solid kind of matte black. I'm going to use 2 coats just to make sure it looks absolutely perfect, and it should just highlight the model, which is kind of the main point of these painting in the first place. So yeah. And these are the finished ones. Yep, these are my Pikmin Tyranids. I'm super happy with how they look. Bright and vibrant and really cartoony. It's been a real break from kind of like the usual thing to make them look like this. Yeah, it was super nice and refreshing. The yellow's probably my least favorite of the 3. It just doesn't look quite right. This could be down to like the choice of yellow. I could have maybe tweaked it a little bit, and the Cheeto wash didn't really show up that much, as well as the dry brush being a little too white. There's a lot of criticism for this one, but yeah, it's the worst of the 3. The blue is probably my favorite though. Something about it is just super vibrant and super poppy. I think I got just the right amount of dry brush and just the right amount of wash on it to kind of like keep it looking super bright and vibrant blue, but also like, you know, there is more detail to it. It's not just like a flat color. The red was looking really good up until kind of like the dry brush phase. Dry brushing on red is always a super hard thing to do. So I'm not too surprised that it didn't quite work out. I think it probably would have looked better if I hadn't dry brushed it, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It on its own kind of looks a bit dodgy, but like combined with all 3 of them, then the whole 3 of them are just like one big vibe, and I enjoy that. Okay, so that's Pikmin's, but Tyranids, but Pikmin. Yes. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm planning on making at least a fair few of these videos. I'm going to do as many as I can think of, really. Which means if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. They may actually get done. And please stick around if you want to see more. Peace.